Hello and welcome to everyone to this new episode of Gupshup with Gill. Today I have someone with me who's developed a niche of his own. It's related to cricket, but it's not the kind of cricket that we are usually uh, discussing over here and that we usually discuss in our conversations when it revolves around the game. It's you could say probably it's unfortunate, but that's how it is. I have with me Yash Lahoti of the founder of Women's CricZone who runs a website purely dedicated to women's cricket and not just Indian domestic women's cricket, but domestic cricket and international cricket around the world in the women's game. Welcome, Yash. Welcome to this episode of Gupshup with Gil.
Hi, Gurkirat. Thanks a lot.
Now, Yash, I usually begin this show by asking people about their journey, and I tell a little bit about their journey themselves because uh, there's a lot more about them in the open media for others to follow. But since yours is a relatively new platform which is picking up, I want you to do the introduction for yourself and tell us about your journey and what led you to starting this platform by the name of Women's Crick Zone.
So the journey has been quite simple. Of course, I've done my engineering, as most of the people in this world have. Even you have. It's just that I never felt that okay, engineering is my cup of tea. So the time I used to see those computer formulas or C, C++, Java, I used to be like, oh, okay, this is not my cup of tea. I'm not going to do this. I understood this in my first year of engineering, unfortunately. So I had to continue that. But at the same time, I was more interested, inclined in the management, finance side of things. So I used to manage all the events, functions, and everything that's used to be going on at my college level. And of course, through college at a district, through district at the city, state, country, and I've even managed at Asia Pacific levels also. So from that I was like, okay, I want to do this, and that's the reason I joined. I took up a marketing job. So the time I took up this marketing job, at the same time the 2017 women's world cup was in play. But and if you remember it right, 2 weeks before, at the same place, England, the champions trophy was taking place, wherein Pakistan beat India in the finals. And everything was so highly telecasted, people were discussing, everything was happening. 2 weeks later, nobody was discussing about the Women's World Cup. It was like, but the ICC did their level best. All the matches for the first time were streamed live. Everything was done in place. But unfortunately, there was not a lot of coverage. And I was like, okay, any which way is watching the games. I'll just start a Twitter handle and just post the updates, whatever are happening. I used to do that, and that regularity helped me get say 2,000, 2,500 followers by the end of the World Cup ended, and I just continued doing that for the next set of months, a few months from there. And a lot of people started messaging me that, oh, okay, you should start a website. The reason being, we not you're able to give us in short what are the things going on, but if you want to read in depth, we're not getting anything. And I was like, okay, it's a good idea. I am not a journalist or something, so I really can't do a lot of things here. So they were like, okay, we'll have a bunch of freelancers who do this for free. You just create a website. So I asked one of my friends to create a website. He did, and the rest of the people just started posting articles there. That was the very first version of Women's Crick Zone in 2017. Later on, 3 months down the line, March 2018, I was just sitting at the Upendran Stadium in Mumbai, where in Australia, England, and India were playing a tri-series. It was Thursday afternoon. I remember it very well. It was Australia, England who were playing that match, and Mel, Anjum, Isa, all were in the commentary box. There was one girl sitting in her whites Thursday morning, and of course, you're bunking your school for that matter. So she was 10, 11 years old. She was with her kit, white kids. She was with her all her equipments, gears, everything ready to play a cricket match. And she was watching the girls. I saw her, she moving for like 100, 200, 300, 100 meters down from here was our commentary box. And she went there for 2, 3 times, but unfortunately was not able to meet the commentators. Security wasn't allowing her. I was like, okay, let me give it a try. I just went to her dad. I asked, can I take a photo of us? And she was like, okay, you can. I took a photo of hers, put it up on social media, tagged Mel and Junisa. Mel immediately replied, hang your tight, we are coming. And like she came, all three of them came, sat with her for 10 odd minutes. Um, and that just became the story of the day. I got call from news channels, I got messages from ICC, Twitter, and a lot of other places. And I thought, okay, people are actually interested in this. This looks like something. And then I was like, okay, I talked to a lot of people after that. I thought the things which I was doing was kind of a NGO, wherein, okay, whatever money I have, I'm spending a bit of it, I'm just utilizing a few people's time, and I'm just posting out updates. But uh, I am a Marwadi, so I think from the business side also. So then I was like, okay, if I'm putting 1 rupee and I'm getting 1 rupee of output, that does not make sense. That's not growth. Growth is when you're putting X amount of hard work and you're getting 10x out of it, and then 100x, and you basically need to multiply, and that's how you're going to become a game changer. Then I sat for 3 odd weeks. What do I need to do? I created a business plan. I spoke to my founder, so the company I was working with, I spoke to that founder, I spoke to a few of my friends, I spoke to a few of my seniors, and that was a time I thought, okay, I need to leave this job wherein I am in my comfort zone, come out of it, and then start this. That was basically the turning point. That Girl incident which happened at the Brahman Stadium is my turning point. I regularly say this, and that is how Women's CricZone started full fledged.
Well, that's actually a great story. Might have made that girls' day, and like you said, it probably runs in your blood. Where you said that you're a Marwadi, so if you're putting in 1 rupee, just getting back 1 rupee is not enough. And well, it's great that that story started from somewhere. Now, you told me that you spoke to your co-founders, the company that you were working for, and a couple of people around you. Now, I just want to know what was their reaction, because a lot of people who followed cricket or any sport in the country, they've looked to start a website, and uh, some of them have been encouraged, and some of them have been held back, that how will you earn money through it, etc., etc. Now, what you were trying to do was even a more niche version of it, because you were going to build a women's sports website, a women's cricket website. Now, I want to know how many of people would have told you, why are you doing this? इसके तो कोई viewership ही नहीं है. Why don't you, if you want to do it, why don't you do it for a proper cricket fledged website which covers men's cricket? I'm sure this would have been something which a lot of people would have told you. So what were those reactions at that point of time?
I just feel nobody who's not that close to you. So there are people who are very close to you, and then there are people like, oh, okay, I can take advice, I can do whatever, but they'll not say bad things to me. So most of the people are like that in our life. 80% of the people. There are only like 4 or 5% people who are going to actually say, yes, whatever you are doing is wrong, completely shit. No, it's not like that. So most of the people I was talking to, everybody was saying you're doing a good thing. Nobody is going to come and criticize you that, oh, okay, this is not a great thing. Why are you doing this? All of that never happened. Nobody in my circle told me that, okay, what I was doing was wrong, because I just feel that what I was doing was right. Of course, I needed a bit of guidance there, and a lot of people say me that I've grown as an individual and as a business person in the last 3 years. There are a lot of things you learn by doing those, and by doing those in the wrong way, because then you know that, okay, this is the wrong way. You need not repeat this, and you need to take out, say, a correct way. May not strike every time, but then it comes out. So no one in my circle I remember told me that, oh, okay, this is something which you are doing wrong, because a lot of people have already done, say, sports, cricket, a lot of full-fledged things. There's ESPN available. There are a lot of companies which are doing similar things. So what's different that you're going to offer? And that is where the presentation helped me a lot, that, oh, okay, it's not only the website, and this is not my revenue model. There are models on which I'm already working. Some may be activated in a year's time, some may take 5 years, but it's going to be a story. It's not going to be that, oh, okay, I've just started a website and I'm going to stick with it. No, it's not going to be that way. And that is the way we have operated. We started with a website, but today, if you see, we have a magazine to our name, we have an award show, we recently became broadcasters. So a lot of things have changed, and these are all parts of our initial plan itself.
I just want to add something over here. You don't only have a website and a magazine; you also have a podcast, and the links of all those is there on your website. I'd just like to tell this to the viewers that if even if you have slightest of interest in women's cricket, this is one website which you should visit and see what is happening in the world of women's cricket, because I personally feel that there isn't enough coverage, and uh, this website does their best to bring as much as cricket content, especially related to women's cricket, to you. And like Yash mentioned just now, that they've now even become broadcasters. Yash, would you like to tell everyone that which is the league that you were covering, and how did you land that deal?
So broadcaster was an initial plan, of course. We recently signed a 5-year contract with Rwanda Cricket Board for streaming all their international women's games. And yes, the first league that we covered was the Quibuka T20 tournament, which happened very recently as yesterday. So 6th to 12th of June, we covered that tournament. It was like 5 nations, and yeah, Kenyans won the tournament. So yeah, this was the very first tournament that we streamed. We got more than 1 million views. We got I don't know, but 8 million odd impressions, and a lot of things on the matches, and never expected, honestly. So if you see that more than 1 million views, that clearly shows that each match had nearly 75,000 viewers, which fortunately is a huge number. Uh, these countries, let me be honest, out of all the 5 countries, I maximum knew 2 or 3 players. That's it. So now a lot of people know the Quinter Abels of the world, or the Yasmin Khans of the world, or the Sunay Whitmans of the world. A lot of people now know. So I always feel that if you can't show something, do not expect the others to think that, oh, okay, this player might be playing this way. It's all an imagination till the time you actually see them play. Because now we know that Sunay Whitman actually hits the ball as hard as a Lizelle Lee, and her idol is Lizelle Lee. So a lot of people are now influencing the other. So this has been the plan, and of course, this is just the start. I'm sure that we'll be streaming many more tournaments in the future.
Now, like you mentioned, that because of the coverage that you guys were doing, there are new names that have come forward in the circuit of women's cricket, and now they've been exposed to a greater audience. Now, I'm sure over the last 3 years that you've been working on this project and the product of Women's CricZone, there would have been some real stories where you would have felt, okay, that now that we've made a considerable impact and made sure that people take notice. I just want you to share a couple of those stories which actually made you feel that, okay, this is something that I wanted to do, and it's something that has created an impact, and it gave you the satisfaction which you probably wanted to look for when you started.
I'll not tell any international stories because most of them are out in the public. I'll not tell any of the international stories. I'll talk about domestics. Domestics. So if you see the girl story, which actually helped Women's Crick Zone come up as a full-fledged entity, that is one of the things. Then there is a second girl. She's in the United States, an Indian who's in the United States. So her dad is an Indian. Family is in the United States because dad works as a computer engineer there. This particular girl, she practices every day. She's right now, I think, so 7 years old, and I know her from the time she was 4.5, 5 years old. She used to practice every day. Very good player, everything. But ultimately, you need that backing. You need people to put it up on social media so that a lot of people start getting that attention, everything. Now, this is a particular girl story. I remember her dad had DM'd us some 2 years back, and he just asked if we could, if this is a great, if what she's doing is the right thing. We just posted it on social media. That thing got a lot of views, and ultimately, if you see the last year how it has happened, I met that girl. So they had traveled down from um USA to Australia to watch the Indian girls in the final, in the semi-finals of the World Cup. So I met them there, and then after that, I met them again. I met them there, and after that, it has been a complete circle. So ICC covered that girl's story. Sony this time during the Border Gavaskar Trophy covered that particular story. Sky Cricket during the last England West Indies series covered that story. So it just feels that good that okay, you started a particular story, and that story is now picked up by various outlets. This has happened a lot of times, but I'll just tell about this smaller known stories because that is what creates an impact. These are the future of say our country or some other country, but end of the day these are the future gems. Everybody knows who's playing at the domestic, who's playing at the international level, but these are people who nobody notices.
I see. Now you mentioned earlier that you cover you were broadcasting the cricket league in Rwanda, and you also cover cricket across the globe, and not only international but domestic as well. Now, from what I know, you only have an office based in Pune and not across the globe, unlike a Cricinfo which has offices in London, in Melbourne, and at other places. So, how difficult or challenging it can be sometimes, covering a few games, and we must add that a lot of these games aren't even broadcasted on television. So, how difficult can it be to cover a few games? When especially they are in associate countries, and you don't even know where they're being broadcasted. How do you try and do that justice to your viewers in covering those games?
So one, of course, I feel everybody works with a lot of freelancers. So do we. So in case we want to stream, we want to cover some tournament in England or Australia or some other place, we just tie up with a few freelancers who help us with the content from that side of the world. Because especially in COVID times or even otherwise, it's very difficult to send people to travel down and cover tournaments. And second, or otherwise we have to rely on local boards, we have to rely on scorecards, we have to rely on eyes which are on the ground. So there may be people who are not journalists, but who can be from the boards team or some or the other, but who were at the ground. So we just call them up, we just ask them that is there some story or is there something that you have seen that we can just write up in our stories or anything. And once you get that, that is how we usually cover. So it's literally impossible to be present in whatever 62 odd countries and be there on the board.
Now, you've already given a few numbers which break the myth that there isn't enough coverage, there isn't enough following rather of the sport, because this is something that we keep getting in India, that there is the women's sport is not invested in because there isn't a lot of people watching it, and you know that is why the money isn't coming in. But I also want you to share the views, and how many listeners do you get on your podcast and everything, which give us a more clearer picture as to what is the interest in our own country in terms of following the women's sport.
So I'm not sure whether I'll be able to give the views exactly or not, but end of the day, so what we have is the views I can say are increasing every day. Or say the major tournaments, for example, India, England, or for example, the last year's T20 World Cup or something. These are the tournaments. So say an ICC tournament will have the most number of viewership. An Indian tournament will have the second highest number of viewership. In England, Australia will have the third highest number of viewership. And then, of course, associate nations, it will take a bit of time. And that is how we invest also. So if you want to invest in something in, say, associate countries, that won't be as high as an ICC tournament or an India series or something. You have to also look into what are the business you're getting from that side of things. So that is how we also generally work. But end of the day, what I have observed is the time we started 2 years back, 3 years back, when there were 100 views per day. Today that number has fortunately crossed more than 100 times, which is a good enough signal that okay, people are actually interested. Some people may not know about us, and if you see the recent Rwanda series that we streamed, it's very clear that people actually watch the matches. So if you show the matches, people will watch it.
Well, that's great to know that you've grown 100 times in the last 3 years, and hopefully that level of success and growth keeps continuing, not only with your website but also with our women's team and the women's cricket in general. Now, I want to ask you something from the content side of things. You have a former cricketer, Ananya Upendran, as an editor. How much of a help is that, having someone who's been a part of the system, who's played the sport, and can also tell you about the challenges which come with covering it. So I want to understand how much of a help is someone like an Ananda Upendran in the editorial team.
I think so. Ananya is someone who makes sure that everything happens. See, you always need a brain to run things around. Without the brain, nothing will function. So I think so. Ananya is that part of our body wherein she looks into everything. She knows, understands from a player mindset. She has been a player. She knows most of these players on a personal level. So it is very easy to understand that, oh, okay, what exactly, for example, if we do this kind of a story, what exactly is going to be an impact on the player or something or the other. So she understands from that perspective and helps us there that, oh, okay, we should do this or we should not do this. And if we should not, how we should approach this particular aspect of things. Because we don't want to put a player in a difficult spot, end of the day. Plus, she being a journalist, she also understands that what things need to be written, need not written, how exactly you have to use your power of influence and everything, which is very important, I feel. And plus, for a niche product like women's cricket, I hardly know that there are 5, 6, 7 people in the country who are at that top level and can actually guide you. Ananya is right up there. And I don't think so that there are other journalists who have also played a significant amount of cricket who can actually help on these terms. So I think so. Ananya is that particular person who just manages that entire thing for us, and she's someone whose experience will help you each and every day of your business.
I mean, I think in cricketing cliches, you'd like to call it, she keeps the batsman honest. She was a bowler herself, so she keeps the team
Yeah,
honest, and ensuring that there's a good conscience to the coverage as well. Because in today's times,
correct.
there can be a lot of sensationalism also in the coverage, which never really leads to a change, but only leads to something destructive or some criticism which never helps. Now,
Right.
since you've been so involved in this field where you've been covering women's cricket, I want to understand from you, as per you, which is the best cricket board in terms of putting in the efforts to improve the women's game. We know the efforts that go into the in promoting the men's game, but we really don't know how much effort is put in by boards to promote the women's game. Which board, according to you, does the best job of it?
I'll just take two names and I'll just differentiate them. So one is, of course, Cricket Australia, um, for whatever things they do. So all of the things they do are equally divided. So if men are getting something, women are also getting that. So that's like the topmost cricket board. You cannot match them. If women have a schedule, men have a schedule. If women have these quality of gym facilities, men have those quality of gym facilities. If women have that much amount in their central contracts, the men do. So everything. So Cricket Australia is by far the best cricketing board in terms of, say, equality, uh, in terms of everything. Then there is the second cricketing board called Cricket Association of Thailand. I've worked, uh, I know them quite well because of my interactions. So their kind of second home ground is Pune because the coach belongs to Pune. So I remember pre-COVID times, a lot of times the girls used to be in Pune for practice. So I know them, I have interacted them a lot. And if you see, that is one of those nations wherein uh, the investment in the women's team is much higher than the investment in the men's team. So that is something that you need. So if you see, there are regular updates about the women, what they're doing, even at domestics, international, whatever. They try their level best with whatever the other cricketing boards for help, support, for arranging matches or something or the other. not the richest of the cricketing boards or nowhere close. They do not even have a sponsor for that matter, but they have the heart at the right place, is what I'll say.
Now, from what you mentioned, about these two boards, which is Ireland and Australia, what do you think can other boards, learn about promoting the game from them? I'm not just talking India specific, but other boards as well, which are there in the country, maybe in England, in New Zealand, Pakistan, or South Africa. What all can they learn from these two boards?
A lot of things. So you just need to go back to your drawing board. You just need to first plan it out. What is your 5-year vision? What is your 3-year vision? What is your short-term vision? All those things you have to plan out. So, for example, the way BCCI, I just read an article by Siddharth Munga for Cricinfo, and it's very well told that how BCCI created those large 60, 70 bunch of pool with Rahul Dravid at the helm,
I also
everything. So
just read it
India,
today.
yeah. So if you are able to do that, I am sure all the other boards can take it up also for the women and say that, oh, okay, this is something that we can do. And that is how you will create bigger players. You will create a bunch of players. Not only BCCI, it's applicable to all the cricketing boards with whatever money you have, of course. Some boards may be able to create 70 players, some may be able to create 30 players. But end of the day, those are all the things that you need to do. So I just feel that yes, it has to revolve right from the number of players you want to have in the system. Under 19, India, A tours, emerging tours, gym facilities, use of whatever so just like we have in India, we have the NCA. Similarly, what are the performance centers you have worldwide? So all those use of facilities, creation of FTPs. So if you see, it's only England and Australia who have their summer schedules ready well in advance, but you don't see that with the other countries. So you need all of these things to be created so that you are ready for whatever the tournament or series that's going to come up. I'm not
And
saying that you are always going to win there, but you're giving your best shot to win. And of course, not all the teams will win. It's going to be one of the teams, and then luck comes into play. That okay, there may be a time that okay, all 11 players did not perform.
of course, cricket is a very luck-oriented game, and I'd say it's probably one of the most luck-oriented games, considering there's the factor of toss and there are weather conditions also which play a part. Now, since you spoke of that, I also want to ask you about what do you feel about the women's IPL? Because if you go back and look at the Indian team in the last three ICC tournaments, they've lost to two teams which have a franchisee T20 tournament. They've lost to England and Australia only, and they've done well against other countries. So, how important do you think is a women's IPL, and what do you think of the depth of the talent that is present to even have a six women's team IPL? Because there was a lot of conversation which was saying that okay, maybe we don't have enough players to have an 8-team IPL, but then there were conversations which said that probably you can do it with a 6-team IPL as well, because a lot of leagues, if you look at it, the Big Bash started with the 16 league, the PSL started with the 5-team league, and now it's the 16 league. So, what do you think about this whole issue and the debate around it?
Okay, so Gurkira, I just feel so there are two questions to your bigger question. So the first question, I just feel that um, it's very wrong to say that okay, because they have a franchisee league, they won. England, for example, we were very close to beating England in 2017. We just
17.
lost by 9 runs.
Yeah.
So it was not that franchisee league came into place. It was not like that. So end of the day, it was very simple that way. That okay, they just played better cricket than us on that given day. And same goes with Australia last year. Having a franchisee leagues does not only help creating new players, it helps you create backup players also. So, for example, today Australia can easily, so just like Indian men can have a second string team go to Sri Lanka, same way Australia can have a second string team go to one team playing in England, one team playing in South Africa, and they can just win both the matches. It helps you create that second string of team. Second, what it will help you with is the finances. Most of the players, so for example, if you have an 18 women's IPL, if you have say 15 odd Indian players in each team, you basically secure contracts for 120 domestic cricketers. That is what it will help you with. It will not help you win consistent tournaments. Otherwise, you have a men's IPL right from 2008, if I'm not wrong, till now. So it's been 13 seasons. And still, Indian men have not won a single T20 World Cup. Not even a single. The one which we won was before the start of the IPL. So we can't compare that, oh, okay, just because they have a franchisee league, they won. They have a franchisee league means they have a better structure. They have more players in their system who actually feel secured. So we recently spoke with Sophia Dunkley, and she told the same thing that, oh, okay, now I feel secure because I have a domestic contract in place. Basically, you don't need to work at some other place. Your finances are secured, and because your finances are secured, you can give your 100% to cricket. That is what it will help us with. So having a women's IPL has its own share of challenges. Certainly not the depth is an issue. If somebody is saying the depth is an issue, then that particular person, it can be a BCCI official or otherwise, that particular person does not have an idea about the domestic cricket system in India. That I can be very clear of. I have studied, I know players, and I can write it down without even looking somewhere. These are the 120 domestic cricketers in India who can play the women's IPL. But if you are saying that all these 120 players, will they be able to score, say, 150 or 200 runs each innings? No, they will not be able to. Because a lot of, from the fan perspective, I will say, I've spoken to a lot of fans. A lot of fans, what they feel is what Hardik Pandya or a Sanju Samson does by hitting continuous sixes is the only form of cricket. No, that is not. So I'll disagree on that particular part. Yeah, men, of course, have more muscle power, which women unfortunately will not be able to have just because of the structure, the body structure, and everything. So I disagree on that part, and I say that okay, even scores of 100, 120, 140, 150, and at times 200, there will be everything in place. But if you are expecting that, oh, okay, just like the men play, each ball should be only looked as, okay, you are going to hit a six, that's wrong. That is what I feel. There are a lot of challenges having a women's IPL in itself. It's not the depth of the players, and I'm sure BCCI knows it's not the depth of the players. One, it has to be that, okay, franchisees have to agree to it. Second, you need to get in sponsorship for it. Third, you need to create a plan and see that, okay, is this going to be cash flow positive in third year or fifth year or seventh year, 10th year, what it is going to be. How am I going to convince the franchisees, sponsors, players, everyone? So it's not a simple thing. And you need not compare that, okay, just because an MS Dhoni is, for example, getting 15, 20 crores, a Smriti Mandana should be getting 15, 20 crores. No. I say you start with saying that, okay, Smriti Mandana will at max get, say, 2 crore rupees. So you keep your higher limit. Just like you have kept for the men's one, 17.5 crore is their higher limit. You keep a higher limit that, okay, for men, we have the pool of 80 crores per franchisee. For women, we'll have, say, 15 crores or 20 crores per franchisee. That is still okay. And then you grow each particular year. But then you need to have that plan. So that plans need to be put in place, is what I feel. I feel the plan is the major problem and not the depth or anything else.
Basically, one other thing that comes out of what you've said is that before equal pay, there needs to be an equal opportunity, because then only you can strive for an equal pay.
Yeah, of
That
course.
now since we are discussing this, what I also want to know from you is, how much do you think that you know men cricketers who are not even cricketers now, who are some sort of superstars, how much can they influence the interest and the focus towards the women's sport? And again, not just Indian cricketers, but from those who are foreign cricketers as well. How much of a role do you think can men cricketers who are recognized worldwide can play a role in promoting the women's sport?
A lot. I'll just give you an example. So if you just go to Google, go to YouTube, and just type R Ashwin Shikha Pandey or R Ashwin Mithali Raj, you will see that one point. So R Ashwin has his own YouTube channel. He has a show called DRS on which Shikha Pandey had come, and that particular show has got 1.2 lakh people watching it, so viewership. And Mithali Raj came has 1.9 lakh views. You see, a simple interview show between two cricketers, and automatically all of R Ashwin's following actually knows that there is a certain Shikha Pandey or a Mithali Raj exist, and this is their story. Even if they like that particular story, I'm not saying, just think, imagine. So out of those 2 lakh people who watched Mithali Raj episode, 1% of that. So I'm saying 1% of that. So say 2,000 people. 2,000 new followers to Mithali Raj. It's a simple game. And if 2,000 new followers to Mithali Raj means 2,000 new followers to women's cricket. I still remember in the year 2018, when the first ever one of Women's T20 Challenge had taken place at the Wankhede game, Virat Kohli, whose team did not qualify for the playoffs, RCB did not qualify that year, had posted one video. I remember it very clearly. Had posted just one video saying that all the best to Mithali Raj, all the best to Harmanpreet and Smriti for leading their teams and everything. One video before the start of that game. That video we had reposted on our platform, and that was the most retweeted, liked tweet of that particular year of Women's CricZone. So you just see what one Virat Kohli's tweet could have done. I know he charges a lot for that particular thing, and that's completely commercial acceptable. But just imagine him just tweeting one particular video saying that, oh, okay, all the best to this particular person for this thing. Just imagine the kind of viewership it generates. Because Virat Kohli already is an established brand. All male cricketers are. If you just use that influence and say that, okay, if you're interested, you're going to watch. Of course, if Virat Kohli is forcing you to do something, you're not going to do that. But Virat Kohli saying something, automatically a lot of people actually know that this thing is happening. So that's the change. So the way, it's just that you need to use these male cricketers very well. You can't say to them that, oh, okay, you have to do one tweet every 15 days, one tweet every 30 days. No, need not do that. But can you have more tours where the men and women can travel together? I remember that happened 2 years back in New Zealand. I remember that happening right now in England. So can you do more of that? Yes, you can. Certainly possible. So that there is more content which comes out with the men's and women's team together. A lot of people then feel that, oh, okay, this is a gender inclusive sport. Can you do that? Yes. Can a Virat, a Rohit, MS, anyone for that matter, tweet occasionally saying that, oh, okay, this particular person has done pretty well, this, that, something or the other happening. See, we all know these are agency handled stuff. So not compulsory that Virat has to actually watch the cricketing match to actually come a tweet from his end. 97 or 98% of the people will feel that Virat Kohli is watching the match. Only 2% know that Virat is not watching. It's just his agent who's doing it. I'm just putting it on interview. I know a lot of people will still not understand, but yeah, that's the reality. But just imagine how much impact it will create. And the same goes with commentators, broadcasters. It same goes with them. A lot of commentators, broadcasters say that, oh, okay, we are interested in women's cricket, this, that. But just see the time there is a men's cricket match, how many tweets or something are coming out from a broadcaster. I'll not name anyone, but it's applicable for all. And go and see when a women's match is happening, how many tweets or posts are they putting it out? Not a lot, not even one for that matter.
Just since we are on this subject, I want to tell you that while you were talking about making content together, straight away in my head I had a picture of Yuzvendra Chahal and Jemima Rodriguez doing a video together, and imagining how great it would be and what kind of a great content it would make, and it would again make a lot of people follow the women's sport. I have always personally, speaking from my own experience and probably digressing a little bit, Now I follow tennis occasionally. I don't say that I am a big fan of tennis, but and I only watch tennis when the top three are playing, because there's a certain amount of loyalty which is there attached with them, because I've seen them play earlier and I know these are the three main names, and hence I watch the games, and that is why you see a Nadal or a Federer or a Djokovic game has more eyeballs. Similarly, I feel,
Yeah,
when the women's game is happening, because you don't have a loyalty attached, because the names keep changing, the interest is slightly lesser. And this could be a great way wherein you have both the male and the female creators come along and make content together. You will develop that sense of attachment and loyalty, which will make people watch the game for them, if particularly not for anything else. Another thing, that came
absolutely.
that came into my head, and this was something which was being discussed by Harsha Bhogle and Ian Bishop, I think, in Crickbuzz Unplugged. They were having this conversation where Harsha mentioned that a lot of broadcasters also sometimes, when they have to cover a women's tournament, even an ICSE tournament, they sometimes take a back seat. But someone like an Ian Bishop never does it. He's always there, whether to be
Yeah.
cover a under 19 World Cup, under 19 World Cup, or a women's World Cup. So I think what you're saying about broadcasters also has some merit to it, because we particularly don't see the same names always. We see different names coming up. Very rare you have the same commentators who are the top commentators also in the game. Now, one last thing that I want to know from you, and specifically, from the context of Indian fans, what would you like to tell them in terms of expectations from the women's team? Because sometimes I feel that there's a huge mismatch in the level of expectations. We sometimes just we expect a lot of things from them, but we don't particularly understand the situation that they are in.
See, it's right to have an expectation. They are playing a sport which is basically watched by all. So it's right to have your own set of share of expectations and everything. The only thing which is not right and which is happening a lot in the days of social media is abusing someone or harassing someone. This is very common. So I feel that is something that needs to be looked into. If you are criticizing someone for, oh, okay, you played this particular shot, you played it in a bad way, you need to improve on this particular shot, understood, that's a right criticism that should be done. But if you are saying that, oh, okay, so for example, um, a lot of fans criticize the Mitali's team velocity during the women's T20 challenge last year in Dubai, just because, imagine what had happened. And these fans don't know because they don't follow the women's sport. They just went and watched the match and saw them getting all out for 40 odd or something. Just see what had happened. They were in a Mumbai quarantine for 14 days, went to Dubai, 6 days of hard quarantine, post which they had 4 practice sessions. They played a cricket match in Sharjah from evening 7 to 10, went back to Dubai, which is 24 kilometers from Sharjah, by the way. So you have to all the way travel down from there to Dubai hotel. They sleep, come back the next afternoon. It was an afternoon game, so it was like only a 12-hour shuffle. So 12-hour shuffle, you again travel back from Dubai to Sharjah, again play a cricketing match in that heat with no practice at all, no time to look into. And a lot of fans started criticizing, oh, women do not know how to play. See what is their score, 40 odd, and this and that, and a lot of other things. I remember a lot of women's cricket fans putting it out that, oh, okay, your Kohli's team, RCB also got out for 47 all out sometime back. This is bad criticism. This is abusing, this is harassing someone. If you want to really criticize someone, you just say that, oh, okay, you have been given, say, 12 chances at this particular position. Still, you are not performing well. And these are the reasons you're not performing well. That's completely all right. But if you want to really, so you need to, fans also need to take a backseat. I'm not saying this is not only for women's cricket, this is also for men's cricket. I've seen a lot of rivalries happen on Twitter. Sometimes, I don't know what kind of friends Rohit and Virat are. I don't know them personally. But end of the day, I'm sure Rohit and Virat fans don't gel along well, even if those two people are. So many a times you just see that Rohit fans just starting a trend that Virat resigned from the captaincy, Virat fans doing the same with Rohit. What's going on? This is not the way you do it. If you want to really criticize someone, criticize it, but criticize it in the right way. It be women's cricket, men's cricket, any sport. They are representing you at the national level. You have all the rights. Fans are the stakeholders of the game. It's not only the BCCI. BCCI has their right, but it is the fans who are also the stakeholders in the game. But you need to understand that where, how exactly you should be criticizing. You can't just come out and say that, oh, okay, you can just abuse someone or harass someone on social media and just say that, oh, okay, I criticized them. No, you did not criticize, you abused, you harassed. Yeah.
It gives us a lot of food for thought, because at the end of the day, even this personal criticism or individual criticism between two groups isn't great, because at the end of the day it's also a team game. And you're very right that criticism has to be on some merit, and sometimes the criticism is on useless stuff, that your team got all out for 49 this. And the worst which I find, and I find it very intolerable, is when the families are brought in. That is for me is an alert to block that account, simply put.
Families are brought in. I remember during the 2007 Men's Cricket World Cup, when India had got out after the league stage itself. I remember a lot of the cricketers who played that particular tournament. A lot of people faced a lot of issues, whereas throwing stones at their bungalows or something or the other. This is not the right way to do it. You certainly have the right to criticize. They did not make it to the, say, Super Sixes or semi-finals or whatever. They did not make it. That's all right. But this is a game you need to understand. It is not a war. It's a game. So play. So clearly played. Take it as a game. Do not take it as a war. Otherwise, you're going to face your own set of issues.
Yeah, and the jingoistic media sometimes around it doesn't help, when they start hyping it as a war, and equating it with stuff that happens on the borders as well.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the broadcasters many a times. I'm sure they learn a lot from their previous experiences. And more or less, clickbait media does a lot of harm than good. So a lot of clickbait media, just because Virat loses one particular match, and a lot of Rohit fans start putting up a certain trending content, and a lot of clickbait media just picks it up and says that, oh, okay, Rohit fans or Twitterati criticize Virat Kohli, ask Rohit to captain. Like, just because you want some views on your website or whatever, you are basically creating a warlike situation between the fans of the sport, and these cannot be fans.
Well, I think on this note, we should end this conversation, because, like you said, the people who abuse are not fans. Fans are basically one who do criticize, but they tend to have the back of the teams or the athletes that they support. That they support. Well, it was great talking to you, Yash, and I wish you all the best in your venture. And I hope that your venture grows on the same pace as the women's cricket on the whole, as the women's Indian cricket team. And I wish you all the best and a lot of success in the future. And I hope you enjoyed being on the show.
Thanks a lot, Gurkirat. I really enjoyed. So a lot of good questions. I think I have not overstepped my words, but yeah, that's all right. So yeah, it was great fun.
Well, on this note, I'd like to
Yeah.
end this show, and want to say that even if you don't follow women's cricket, you should definitely check out the Women's CricZone website. Who knows, you might find some content there which makes you intrigued about the women's cricket, and make you a regular viewer of Women's Cricket Zone. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends and whosoever who likes to talk or hear about the game of cricket, and even more so if it's women's cricket. And please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Please come back again for more content on Gupshup with Gill. Thank you.